If you are enjoying this podcast and other podcasts on the Dragon Wagon Radio Network, be sure to check out the Dragon Wagon Shop. Awesome t-shirts and mugs from your favorite shows so you can tout your podcast pride, all while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. And make sure to check it often for new items and limited time designs. So shop now at dragonwagonshop.com and get your dragon swag on.
To this mythology, Paul's a connoisseur. Sarah has an interest, but it's all Greek to her. From Cronus's kids' weird childhood to what's going down in Hades' hood. These fables are bizarre but good. It's myth understood.
I forgot that you drank that shrinking potion before we began this podcast. You just sounded like a little tiny thing.
Like a little girl, or just a smaller version of myself?
Like a smaller version of yourself. Like but with like abnormal proportions, like with like a big head and a small body.
Big old butt.
A big old butt. On that note, thanks for listening to another episode of Myth Understood with me, Paul Bianchi, and her, Sarah Oliver.
Yeah.
As usual, if you want to follow Myth Understood across social media, you can find us at _Myth Understood on Twitter and Instagram. You can find Sarah individually at the Sarah Oliver on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me
at the Paul Bianchi on Instagram and now Twitter. Yep.
So I recently posted another classical piece of Greek art that had the image of Hyacinth and Apollo.
You didn't paint that yourself?
I did not paint that myself, no.
You could. You're so talented.
Oh, thank you. This is again part of our podcast. Nice things Sarah says to Paul and mean things Paul says to Sarah.
Yeah.
You weirdo. So that piece of art depicted Hyacinth right after Zephyrus blew wind while they were playing a game of
busted wind.
Huh? So that whole story was that Apollo loved Hyacinth.
Was just having a good time, and then the wind was like
yeah, because Zephyrus also liked Hyacinth, and so he was like, if I can't have him, no one will, and he blew that because they were playing stone frisbee as you do.
Stone.
Yeah. That's
ouch.
Before plastic.
There's always been tree branches. I don't want to hear about it.
Frisbees.
Throwing rocks at me.
We're made out of hammered stone. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be good podcast hosts, we have to now go do this in the park.
That is how it works. But I received a message on Instagram from a listener who was saying, "Hey, where are the lesbians?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Well, they're barely there in Greek mythology."
You telling me these stories by old men don't have a lot of female empowerment and love?
That is absolutely true. But I am going to talk a little bit about Sappho today, who is sort of the lone representation of lesbian storytelling and art in classical Greek mythology. We, of course, had that story between Callisto and Zeus, in which Zeus pretended to be Artemis in order to get to gain Callisto's trust before changing back into himself. Mm-hmm. So there was that little gross thing that he did, but that preyed upon her lesbian attraction.
Catfished.
Yeah. But aside from that, and stories of we talked about Iphis and Ianthe, in which Iphis was attracted to Ianthe, but and prayed to the goddess Isis in order to transform into a man so they could be together. Mm-hmm. But aside from those two myths, I can't really think of anything. If you're listening at home and you're like, wait a minute, let me pull out my lesbian textbook here, then please share that with us, because I didn't get a copy of that lesbian textbook in.
Okay, well, I give it to you every Christmas.
I don't know why I keep losing it. Maybe because it's hand drawn and handwritten by you.
Yes, it is. The pictures are graphic.
Before we get to Sappho, though, I wanted to tell a very unusual tale, which depicts male homosexual love within the tale of Silvanus.
Silvanus.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as I said that, Campfire, the pod dog, went, oh. So apparently he already knows the tale because it, of course,
It's sad.
Of course it's sad.
It's decapitation.
Uh-huh. There's, well, not decapitation.
They play stone tetherball.
Yeah, that seems like a recipe for disaster. Well, so Silvanus is a Roman deity. He was the Roman deity of woods and fields. As a protector of the forest, he especially presided over plantations and was a proponent, which is an odd word for this, but a proponent for trees growing in the wild. He held up signs.
Yeah.
But the signs weren't made out of wood. They were stone.
Okay, so a sign drops on his head. He's dead. Let's move on.
Yep. That's how it ends. The end. Silvanus is described as the divinity protecting the flocks of cattle, warding off wolves, and also promoting the fertility of cattle.
Get out of here. They're trying to fuck. Get out of here, wolf. You too. You do want me to turn the music back on?
Yes, please. Ooh.
Moo, 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 moo.
Oh, is that Careless Whisper as done by cows?
Yes.
That's wonderful. So in the scarce works of I accidentally wrote scares in the scares works of
Spooky works.
Of Dolabella, who was a rural engineer. He states that Silvanus was the first to set up stones to mark the limits of fields, and so he was like really into like this is this person's property, and that every estate had 3 Silvani. There was the Silvanus domesticus, and that sort of speaks for itself, like the lord of domestic household day-to-day tasks. There was Silvanus agrestus, who was worshipped by shepherds.
These are all versions of him, or these are different?
All versions of him.
Okay.
And then the Silvanus orientalis, who was the god of presiding over the point in which a estate begins and ends, which is all...
So some like nosy, lordly shit.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So hence the Silvani were often referred to in the plural, and it was like sort of like a 3... Like you'd have 3 little statuettes of him, or maybe nesting dolls, or maybe a 3-headed doll.
There's so many versions.
There are so many versions. It is stated that his connection with agriculture is referred to only as the labor performed by men, and that females were excluded from his worship. He is in some ways the opposite of the goddess Bonadia, who was the Roman goddess only for women. And I'd like to talk about Bonadia in another episode because she's veiled in mystery. There's very little known about her because she since she was only worshipped by women, and women weren't often scribes of the time. Mm-hmm. There's like men would just sort of be like, I don't know, she's doing something in there with Bonadia. I don't even know if Bonadia is even her real name. Like she's just a completely mysterious female only goddess.
That's cool.
Silvanus likely evolved from a combination of lore the Romans picked up from Pan and Silenus. So these are the Greek deities. Silenus was a companion and tutor to Dionysus. Particularly, their relationship is that like Silvanus and Silenus share physical characteristics, and in the work of Latin poetry and art, Silvanus, just like Silenus, appears as an old man with a beard and occasionally a bit of a belly. He fluctuated.
Wait, these are different people?
Silvanus and Silenus, yeah. So because the Romans, why oh God?
Because I was thinking it was all one dude for so long.
Oh no, yeah. Well,
so the tree guy is not the same as the lordly guy.
No. So he is. There's the 3 Silvani. That's all Silvanus.
Yes.
But Silenus.
Silliness.
Was the Greek god that he was modeled after, because the Romans basically took all of their art and sculptures.
Okay.
And so they were like, okay, this fat guy.
So this is a Roman tale you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this So they took the statues of Silvanus, who was sometimes depicted as skinny and sometimes depicted as fat, but always old and with a beard.
Well, so that's me.
Well, yeah,
Sometimes skinny, sometimes fat.
Silvanus
Always have a beard.
Silvanus was definitely a chain dieter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he tried
Keto off the keto.
keto off the keto. Yeah. Silvanus's before his homosexual tale, his first love was Pomona, which is of course a city in California.
Isn't that a dish you make me?
Polenta.
Okay. That's my first love. It's so good.
Pomona, the city, gets its name from Pomona, a Roman goddess of fruitful abundance. Her name comes from the Latin word pomum, which is fruit, specifically like fruit that grows in an orchard.
Okay.
Which is also where we get the word like palm for like, I don't know, pomegranate, pom-poms.
Pom-pom. Okay.
Pomona was sought after by Silvanus, as well as King Picus. King Picus we already talked about because he was turned into a woodpecker by Circe for spurning her love.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also Vertumnus, who was the god of seasons and change. So when all three of these guys were like, Pomona, over here, date me.
I like this skinny fat guy here.
She did not say that. She said, I want none of you.
I like you, but get away from me.
She retreated into her sacred grove where only women could enter in order to escape these.
You don't know the password.
Yeah, they were all catcalling, and she like put on her angry face and walked at a slant and very quickly into the orchard.
Mm-hmm. Up in her clubhouse.
This kept Picus and Silvanus from entering the grove, but it didn't stop Vertumnus, because Vertumnus, as god of change, could change his form into whatever form he desired.
Mm.
So he changed his form into a what?
Woman.
But what type of woman?
Oh, a sexy woman.
A sexy old woman.
Oh, okay.
And was granted access into the sacred grove.
You kids want some snacks up here in your tree house?
Yeah, Vertumnus approached Pomona as this old woman and was like, "Hi, I'm Gladys."
Oh, hello. Would you like to know the password to get up into the treehouse?
I would. Thank you so much.
It's boys drool, girls rule.
Oh, boys drool, girls rule.
You're granted access.
Thank you.
They also need a retinal scan and a rectal scan.
Oh, well, before that, you want to hear a story?
Absolutely not, old lady.
That's what I do, though. I tell stories.
Okay. Give me some of those snacks.
All right, here's
I want that pizza Lunchable.
I have some Entenmann's.
I don't want an Entenmann. What is that?
Entenmann's, aren't those the they're like they come as they're I don't know, they're like morning pastries, but they're like pre-boxed.
What the hell?
Whoopi
is
Goldberg used to advertise them.
That? Whoopi Goldberg did.
Yeah.
I don't want your Entenmann's, but come on up.
All right. Well, do you want to hear my story?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just get going.
All right. There once was a beautiful princess named Anaxarete. All the boys wanted her, but she wanted none of them because she was cruel and terrible. But there was this one nice guy named Iphis. This is a different Iphis than the one that changed genders with that to be with Anthe, but this was Iphis the shepherd. Iphis didn't have much to offer Anaxarete, other than the undying affection that he had for the idea of who she was that he built up in his own head, despite never really talking to her or getting to know her.
Red flag, red flag.
He would tell Anaxarete's nurse how much he loved her. He would leave garland wet with his tears and semen on her doorstep.
Sorry?
Sometimes he would just sob and bang on her doorstep. That's how much he truly loved her.
Old lady, this is getting weird. I'll take one of those NX now.
Entenmann's?
Yeah.
Anaxarete then did the worst thing ever. She talked about this embarrassing behavior to other people.
That's normal.
So Iphis was embarrassed, and he did what any rational man would do.
He gave up on the pursuit of the girl that he just was projecting his feelings upon.
He called out to Venus in prayer, sacrificed a goat, and hung himself in Anaxarete's doorway, leaving his body for the princess to find. So then Anaxarete didn't go to his funeral, so clearly she was the worst person in this entire story, and Venus turned her to stone.
But you ruined our slumber party.
The moral of the story, it doesn't matter if you like a man or not. Marry him or face the consequences. In fact, you, Pomona, you should marry the next man you see.
I'm never leaving this treehouse again, so I don't think I'll ever see a man again.
Well, surprise!
Oh,
I've been Vertumnus this entire time.
Did you make up that story?
Maybe?
So...
But it was off the top of my head, and that's like pretty good for the top of my head, right?
It's horrifying. You scare me.
But I'm the guy to change. I can look like anything that you want me to look like.
Ooh, be cuter.
Poof.
Mm.
Wait, what's your definition of cute? Just show me a picture.
Okay.
So that's how Vertumnus won Pomona, by telling her that horrifying story.
Yeah. Great.
So after losing Pomona to Vertumnus, Silvanus found love in another. He found love in the beautiful youth, Cyparissus. The story of Cyparissus...
Plural.
Plural? Well, it's okay because he's Silvani, so there's three of him. And Cyparissus, there's two or three. Who knows? The story of Cyparissus was first told by the Greeks as being between Cyparissus and Apollo. But the story was so beloved that it found its way to the Romans, with Apollo being recast as Silvanus. Cyparissus was the son of Telephus, who I know nothing about, and his story is set in Chios. The subject of it was also the subject of many known literature and frescoes in Pompeii, and the small frescoes featuring Cyparissus in Pompeii could have been indicators in front of brothels that they were predominantly for men seeking men. So he was like sort of a symbol for gay love that way. Silvanus met Cyparissus while hunting in the woods one day, and it nearly began with a tragedy because Cyparissus had a pet stag that he loved more than anything in the world. And their bond was unlike anything people had seen before between deer and man.
Oh, he did tricks.
Yeah, Cyparissus would be like, here, do a spin in the air. Wow. He would like put like musical instruments on him so that when he did spin in the air, that like caught the wind. Mm-hmm. Silvanus was aiming for an arrow at the stag, and Cyparissus caused him to stop by throwing himself in front of his stag, Pocahontas style.
Oh, wow. That's too attached.
Yeah. Too attached?
Well, not for me, but objectively for other people.
Sure. Cyparissus was like, don't kill the stag. I love him. The stag's name is...
Oh, Henry.
This is Henry the stag, and I love him more than life itself. Cyparissus was struck then by Silvanus's compassion because...
Not by the arrow?
No. Because Silvanus didn't shoot the arrow and kill them both. And this was the way that...
That's so cute. You're so cute.
It was the way that he expected gods to behave, because gods are the worst. And so he sort of thought he would either be like out of my way and like magically toss him aside and then shoot him with the arrow anyway, or any of these things. But instead...
you are the sweetest. Look at you trying to die for your little deer.
Mm-hmm. He was also struck by Silvanus, who was out there looking like a rugged hunting daddy.
Yeah, he was a hunting zaddy.
A zaddy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because he's an old man with a beard. Isn't that a traditional daddy? Leave your comments.
I've been trying to really get to the bottom of what a zaddy is for 2 weeks now.
This will help us.
Yeah.
So after this act of compassion, Cyparissus and Silvanus quickly fell in love. Silvanus pampered his young lover with trips and fancy meals.
Okay, he's a daddy.
Well, because he's a god, so he can like take him anywhere, and
he's a sugar daddy.
He even taught Cyparissus how to hunt, even though this was like totally not Cyparissus's thing, but he like just wanted to share things with Silvanus, and it was.
And now you skin it and you rip out the heart.
Oh, great! I love this.
Isn't this? Let's have a food fight with the intestines.
No.
Come on,
Daddy, no.
Rom-com.
So then, of course, tragedy struck. One morning, while Cyparissus was still sleeping, Silvanus went out hunting by himself and was following another deer who was not Henry and shot the arrow. And Henry was sleeping by where Cyparissus was, and the arrow missed the other deer, flew over, and struck Henry while he was sleeping and killed him. And Cyparissus was his connection with the stag was such that he woke up like right when the deer died, like he like felt it in his own heart.
Aww.
And he ran out of the house and he curled up next to his stag, sobbing. Silvanus tried to console him, but he couldn't. Cyparissus, of course, needed time to grieve, but because gods are sociopaths who don't get that, he did what gods do. He turned Cyparissus into a cypress tree.
Well, I see our time here's ended.
Would
It's
you
not-
like space?
Oh, okay. Yeah, gods are all sociopaths, no matter how nice they start.
Cypress trees became a symbol for mourning among the Roman people. And occasionally in artwork depicting Silvanus, he would be carrying the trunk of a cypress tree, just like while he was walking around. So not only
That's morbid.
so he would like turned him into a cypress tree and then he pulled him out of the earth and then carried him around. Yeah. So that's the beautiful love story of Silvanus and Cyparissus.
It's actually the love story I liked was The Boy and the Deer. That was my favorite love story.
Yeah. Poor Henry.
Okay, we need to move on. I'm going to cry.
All right. So let's talk about Sappho then.
She's a woman. That's a woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's an actual woman who actually existed.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, really, she was. Sappho lived sometime between 630 and 570 BCE. She was an archaic Greek poet from the island of Lesbos.
Okay.
Sappho is known for her lyric poetry.
All right. I've met her.
It was written to be sung while accompanied by a musical instrument.
Okay.
So
hangs around a lot of coffee shops.
Hangs out at a lot of coffee shops. In ancient times, so this was rare because there weren't a lot of female lyricists and poets. Sappho was widely regarded as one of the greatest lyric poets and was given names such as the 10th Muse, the Poetess, and so on and so forth. Most of Sappho's poetry is now lost, but
well, it wasn't important. A woman wrote it.
but there is one poem that's nearly in completion that's called the Ode to Aphrodite. The Ode to Aphrodite is a lyric poem in which the speaker calls for the help of Aphrodite in the pursuit of a beloved. And what makes it unusual is that it's a female voice and it's calling for the help of the pursuit of a female beloved.
Oh.
There is sort of debate at which the seriousness at which Sappho intended the poem to be read, because at least parts of the work appear to be intentionally humorous, but it's sort of in debate as to suppose, like, oh, maybe she meant the whole thing as a joke. Like, she didn't really like women, or no, you're allowed to be serious with bits of comedy.
Of course.
So I thought I would deliver this poem to you.
About time.
Okay. Iridescent throned Aphrodite, deathless, child of Zeus, wile weaver, I now implore you. Don't, I beg you, lady, with pains and torments, crush down my spirit. But before, if ever, you've heard my pleadings, then return as once when you left your father's golden house. You yoked your shining car, your wind-whirring sparrows, skimming down the paths of the sky's bright ether. On they brought you over to the earth's black bosom, swiftly. Then you stood with sudden brilliance, goddess, before me. Deathless, face alight with your smile, you asked me what I suffered, Who was my cause of anguish? What would ease the pain of my frantic mind? And why had I called you to my side? And whom should persuasion summon here to soothe the sting of your passion this time? Who is abusing you, Sappho? Who is treating you cruelly? Now she runs away, but she'll soon pursue you. Gifts she now rejects. Soon she'll give them. Now she doesn't love you, but soon her heart will burn, though unwilling. Come to me once more and abate my torment. Take bitter care of my mind and give me all I long for, lady. In all my battles, fight as my comrade.
What part is that? Is funny?
Clearly the part with the I have no idea. But yeah, so the part that stands out in there, of course, is that she has Aphrodite say to her, "Who is abusing you, Sappho? Who is treating you cruelly?" And Sappho responds, "Now she runs away," or rather, Aphrodite says to her, "Your lover, she runs away, but she'll soon pursue you." So she's talking to Sappho, female poetess, who's talking about a woman.
Yeah.
So today, Sappho for many is a female is a symbol of female homosexuality, and the common term lesbian is an allusion to Sappho because she came from the island of Lesbos. So that's where that word comes from, lesbian, Lesbos.
Great.
However, this hasn't always been considered because in classical Athenian comedy, because of course this was a comedic poem, Sappho was characterized as she was just a promiscuous heterosexual woman. There's like a bunch of people who explicitly discuss Sappho's homoeroticism, and so that's been a debate for a really long time. So basically, while some ancient authors did not appear to believe that Sappho did in fact love or have sexual relations with other women, as late as the 10th century, there was a report that Sappho was slanderously accused of having sexual relationships with her female pupils. But yeah, today generally it's accepted that Sappho's poetry portrays homoerotic feelings, and that's sort of where she stands. I mean, I wish I had more information about her and her life. I mean, she was married to a man, but that never stopped no one.
I'm wondering if you have any more insight on like what the stance on homosexuality was back then in general, like if there were laws.
There weren't any laws prohibiting it.
Because I think it's very telling there's a God for everything, but there's no God of Leviticus. Like there's no like.
What do you mean God of Leviticus?
Well, there's no one who's extra condemning and like.
No one was condemning of it. There was just
It seems like the whole general attitude was like when you're young or when you're super old, have your fun, but in the middle of your life when you can breed, you need to pair up and pop a kid out.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, marriage has historically been throughout cultures just
do your duty.
Just been a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need to carry
on the name,
mm-hmm. Merge two families together as a form of strengthening things. Like that's
and the
that's
female
what it was
is
for.
always
and if you found love as that occurred, like that was a bonus, but it was only
one in a billion.
But it was only a bonus seen from like the inside of the home. It wasn't like people didn't specifically praise like, oh, thank goodness they really love each other. Like it was more like, oh wow, that guy landed a beautiful wife. Like that was more of the impression.
Those are great birthing hips.
Those are wow. Yeah.
Which people used to say to me as a teenager.
What?
Yeah.
People? What people?
I just remember it happened a few times, and then never as an adult. Like, yeah, Sarah, you've got great birthing hips.
Did you long for people to say that to you as an adult?
Yeah, it was. No one ever told me I was pretty, but they always told me just extra wide passageway there.
I'm trying to because when I'm imagining this happening to you as a kid, like you're in like a Best Buy. Like, and like someone's like, oh yeah. Well,
Let's go back a bit. We're in a Radio Shack.
you're in a Radio Shack. And it's just like, yeah, I like to buy this part, and it's like, oh yeah, that'll be.
And it wasn't strangers. It would be
$13.99.
like people's family friends.
People's family friends
Yeah.
would say to you, a child.
Well, I was like 16. Not, they could have married me off in Roman times.
They could have, yeah. Well, that's bizarre.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, it doesn't seem like there were really strict, horrible repercussions to people just exploring their sexuality.
Yeah, not really. I mean, particularly because part of society just expected it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were of a nobler class and you were living a life of leisure, like, who cared?
But most likely, it wasn't like women have the choice to be with other women. It's like, no, don't be stupid. Like, we have a dowry. We have cows to trade you for.
Yeah, I mean, it was likely treated, I guess, the way it's treated in the minds of certain people contemporarily, where it's like, oh, they're just having fun. Like, there's nothing serious about it, which has been, I think, the constant stigma of female love in just our Western society.
And so often, I feel like you think, oh, this is the most progressive it's ever been. But in reality, I think things like social norms just come full circle back and back again. Like, it's a tug of war. Back to being ultra, like, it's taboo. Don't talk about it. And you forget, like, 2,000 years ago, people were just hanging out in fuck shacks.
Yeah.
Had a good time.
It ebbs and flows like Silvanus's waistband.
Okay. Had to ruin it.
I had to ruin it. I was just bringing it back around.
No, you did. You made it better. This is interesting. It actually makes me want to research more of like the laws about stuff in that time, because here we are, Pride Month, and people should be able to do whatever they want without judging. Oh my
gosh, I read so new to Twitter, so everything is exciting.
Oh, stay away from the trending hashtags, Paul.
But that's what brought me to this is that I saw that hashtag straight pride was trending, and I wanted to see what people were saying about it. And this person, and I decided, like, I decided just generally not to engage on social media because it's just, you're opening a wormhole of discussions. But this person posted, gosh, guys, the straight flag makes so much sense. It's blue representing men, pink representing women, and a purple line representing the unity between the two. And I was like, that's the bi flag. The straight flag is that weird, like Nazi looking thing that people invented. I don't know if have you seen it?
No.
It's got it's white and black and white stripes, and then there's a female symbol laying down and like a male symbol intersecting / mounting it.
I don't even know if I want to Google it. Just obnoxious.
Yeah.
Can we just go? I say, like, I think like, oh, like, can we just go back to the time where you can piddle who you want, but also not, because they weren't able to like get married. I mean, we are in a better place now.
Yeah.
It's just hard to have that perspective.
It is. It's hard to think about being in a better place.
And there's something a little upsetting about Sappho's poems being lost too. Because what were they, a page? And here's the fucking Odyssey that's lasted 2,000 years.
It's sort of, yeah. I mean, it's kind of similar to what I was talking about with Bonadilla, and how like all of the rights about this female exclusive goddess are completely lost because
it's just disregarded.
Yeah.
From by time to time and time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the life of a female artist. I know it.
She brought it back around to herself.
To herself.
As usual.
Itself. Don't worry. She'll fade into oblivion by the end of this podcast.
Again, this is the podcast Nice Things Said to Paul and Mean Things Said to Sarah.
Normally by me. Hey, ladies, are you looking to get away from the erect and angry men swarming the front door of your home?
Yeah.
Are men leaving semen and tears on your doorstep?
What?
Well,
that might be just you.
It was me, and that's why I started the Girls Only Clubhouse. It's in a sacred grove.
What's the password?
Well, this is on public radio, but I'll say it in my shrill vocal fry voice so the men will tune it out. Boys roll. Girls roll. Boys roll. There's no way they heard that.
How do we join?
Well, you just fucking show up and say the password, but please bring some sort of dish or wine.
Brought to you by Entenmann's.
Oh yeah, I could have done a commercial for Entenmann's.
As Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh no. Wow, Paul, thanks for kicking off Pride Month with some tragic ass tales and a lovely poem.
Yeah. I hope that my delivery of that was okay.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. Okay, good. There we go. The first burn on me. That's fine.
First burn is the deepest. It's wrap up time. My brain's broken.
Okay. Is that you passing the buck to me then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Here, and by a stone frisbee.
Oh, well, yeah, thanks for listening to another episode of Myth Understood. Again, if you would like to follow Myth Understood across social media, you can find it at Myth Understood, @_ Myth Understood on Twitter and Instagram. You can also follow us individually at the Sarah Oliver and the Paul Bianchi on Twitter and Instagram as well.
And follow our daddy at It's Dragon Wagon. It's the radio station that independently supports us, and they have amazing other podcasts. Paul's about to write, or you're already doing it.
I'm already doing it.
We're already doing it. Death Hurts. So there's going to be Radio Dramarama coming up soon. So just check out Dragon Wagon Radio and all of the amazing podcasts that live under its warm embrace.
And if you would like to assist our network in growing and thriving, one of the best ways to support us is to visit the shop. You can visit the shop at mythunderstoodpodcast.com, and you'll see the shop products just like right there up on the side, and you can click on those and you can wear t-shirts to tout your podcast pride and drink out of mugs to sip your podcast pride. And you can also just show your support in general by checking out dragonwagonradio.com/support. It's a good way to just like help pay for headphones and tea and
which
toilet paper.
Paul uses and destroys all of them each episode.
I do. I actually have a special pair that I have to of toilet paper of headphones that I wear because I wear headphones like an idiot.
And the biggest favor you can do for us is to rate and review us on Apple iTunes. It helps us come up in the beginning of the search, and it really just makes us keep doing this, because the more you love us, the more we love doing this.
Sarah, I wish I could have taken a picture of you right then with your hands outstretched in the air,
ready to be struck down by Zeus for begging.
Yes.
Well, love you, Paul.
Love you, Sarah.
Night night.
Night night.
Hey, Paul, you know what's better than myths? Your stupid fucking myths? I like music.
That was really hurtful, but that's okay because we have Zenith here.
Hey, guys.
Hey, you little cutie pie. You sang our theme song.
I did.
Every episode, I sing along to you finishing the note.
I know. It's weird because you don't even notice that I'm sat right behind you while that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that you guys finished together.
Oh. So let's hear about your podcast you got on this network, you little sweetie honey.
Okay. It's called The House Show Show, and it's a music podcast where We have artists who come on and they play a little concert, and then I talk a little talk with them, and then we do a little Q&A with the audience, and it's really, really fun.
So where can I find this marvelous podcast that's on the same network as us?
It is at thehouseshowshow.com or on Stitcher or iTunes or wherever good podcasts are sold.
It's Dragon Wagon.